Hi everyone, this is Brian Hayes and welcome to the second video in our series on an introduction to the electric guitar. In today's tutorial we're going to focus exclusively on the solid body guitar. You'll recall in video 1 we looked at the semi-acoustic Gibson ES345 electric guitar. Today I have with me my Bill Lawrence Japan Stratocaster. This guitar was built by a firm called Morris in Japan under license from Bill Lawrence. Bill Lawrence is one of the world's most famous custom pickup designers. So this guitar features the Bill Lawrence special single coil pickups, but it's based on the shape and design concepts of the famous iconic Fender USA Stratocaster. Now, some of the greatest guitar players in the world have played Fender Stratocasters or guitars built on those shapes, and it dates right back to Jimi Hendrix was probably the guitar player that put the Stratocaster absolutely on the world map. But the list of names who have played Stratocasters is just ridiculous, and if you do a bit of a search on the internet you'll soon find that probably your favourite guitar player has at one time or another played a Fender Stratocaster or a guitar like this Bill Lawrence guitar, which is designed very heavily on the Fender Stratocaster concepts. So let's have a look at what some of those concepts are. First of all, solid body guitar simply means that this is just the whole body of the guitar is a solid wood. There's no acoustic properties in this guitar at all, and in fact if I brush across the strings you can barely hear the sound of the strings. That's because there's nothing in the guitar itself acoustically to amplify the strings. So the sound of this guitar is virtually 100% coming from the pickups and the electronics built within the guitar. So this is a 6-string guitar. It has a solid maple neck. So this neck is one piece of timber that's been carved into the shape of the neck. If you go back to the first tutorial which featured the Gibson ES345, if you have another look at that tutorial you will see that the back of the neck and the front of the neck are two different types of wood and also two different colours. So it's not just a paint design on the Gibson. The Gibson actually has what they call a rosewood fingerboard inlay. So a separate piece of timber where the frets are actually mounted on is glued to the neck of the Gibson guitar. Now this Bill Lawrence guitar and also the Fender Stratocasters that feature a maple neck, maple being the type of timber there, well the frets are just cut into that single piece of timber. This particular guitar was built in the 1980s, and look, it has probably the best Stratocaster neck I've ever played. It's just a wonderful piece of timber, and the many guitar repairers that I've dealt with over the years have all commented that it's just a fantastic neck. It's also a good example. This guitar sold for around about half the price of a Fender Stratocaster, or maybe even a little less than half the price of a USA Fender Stratocaster at the time it was purchased. And it's every bit as good, and I think in some ways better than many of the Fender Stratocasters that I've played. It has the same sort of frets, the wide low profile frets of the Gibson ES345, and that's my particular favourite type of fret on a guitar. Very soft on your fingers, very fast, low profile, and it's not a jagged sort of bump on your fingers as you play down the neck. Now some of the Fender Stratocasters have a very rectangular, squared off type of top on the fret, and I don't like those at all, but there are so many different design Stratocasters. You know, it's a matter of looking at the guitars, playing them and finding the feel that you like. For me, my strong preference is a wide, low profile fret. And this, as I say, the Bill Lawrence guitar has very much a Gibson feel to it on the fretboard. The headstock is similar to the Fender head design. It's obviously, for copyright reasons, a little bit different. You'll notice that the tuning gears, the 6 tuning gears, are all in a line, and that's one of the things that Fender really made part of their signature look and feel. So the Gibson guitar, you will recall, had 3 of the tuning gears on one side of the guitar head and the other 3 on the other side. So the Fender Stratocaster and just about all of the Fender guitars, one of their features is to have all of the 6 tuning gears on the one side of the headstock. Now, if we move to the electronics on the guitar, you can see this guitar has 3 separate pickups. So it has a bridge pickup, a middle pickup, and a neck pickup. Now you'll recall the Gibson only had 2 pickups. The Gibson had 2 humbucking pickups. These are what they call single coil pickups, and that was a feature of the Stratocaster design and many of the early Fenders. Different design pickup altogether. This particular guitar has been heavily modified. I've had a lot of different things done to this guitar. The pickups are Bill Lawrence pickups, and Bill Lawrence was certainly one of the most famous of the custom pickup designers. Bill worked for both Fender and Gibson and another batch of famous guitar makers, but he also independently built a world-class business in modifying pickups and selling his own particular brand of electronic pickups. So this guitar, the Bill Lawrence guitar by Morris in Japan, has 3 Bill Lawrence USA pickups in it. It also has active electronics. So on the back here, there is this swing-out battery holder. So it has a 9-volt rectangular battery that powers the electronics of the guitar, specifically those 3 pickups. This plate here just gives maintenance access to the springs that counterbalance this tremolo arm. Sometimes this lever here is called the whammy bar. Its real name is the tremolo bar, and what that does is it will, you might be able to just hear that. Okay, it can loosen or tighten. If I press the tremolo bar down, it loosens the string. If I push it back up, it tightens the string. So that's done by a rocking bridge here, and there's a series of springs in the back of the guitar under that large plate that counterbalance the tension of the strings so that the tremolo bar will return the strings back to their correct pitch. The normal Stratocaster has 1 volume and 2 tone knobs and initially a 3-way selector switch when it first came out, but nowadays a 5-way selector switch. I've had this guitar modified to just have a volume and a tone knob, just the 2 knobs, and I've put the selector switch in between those 2 knobs. One of the frustrating things in the Fender Stratocaster design is that the selector switch here is normally located about where my thumb is, right where your strumming action is. And to this day it drives me crazy if I play a Fender Stratocaster or a guitar that's an absolute copy of a Fender Stratocaster. Every time I strum, because I strum with a loose finger grip, I don't strum as if my hand is ready to punch someone, I find that my fingers will catch that selector switch and it's just super frustrating. So one of the first things I had done here was relocate the selector switch, which you can see there sticking up there in between the 2 knobs. I've had that switch relocated in between the volume and the tone. So the volume and the tone knobs work for each of the 3 pickups. The selector switch, the 5-way position, if I've got it in the close-up to me position, and this is the same on all the Fender Stratocasters that have the 5-way switch, that engages just the neck pickup. If you go to the position 2 on the 5-way switch, it engages the neck and the middle pickups. If you go to the 3rd position, it engages just the middle pickup. Go to the 4th position, the middle pickup and the bridge pickup are now active. And go to the 5th position and it's just the bridge pickup that's active. Now the 5-way switch is a fantastic way of getting a tremendous amount of tonal possibilities out of the 3 pickups. And if you're looking for a solid body electric guitar and you're looking for one that has 3 pickups, the Fender Stratocaster design definitely the 5-way selector switch is, you know, something I'd be looking for to give you maximum usage of your 3 pickups. The original Fender was simply front pickup, middle pickup, or back pickup. But the 5-way gives you those really interesting combinations of the, you know, the 2 top pickups and the 2 back pickups together. Now, as for active pickups versus passive pickups, it's really a player's choice. There are plenty of articles on the internet about the technical differences between the two, and I won't go into that here, but essentially passive pickups, like the Gibson pickups, generally are more dynamic pickups. In other words, they're more sensitive to changes in dynamics from soft to loud, and they're often regarded as warmer pickups. But in the single coil mode, they can also be noisy pickups. Hence, Gibson used the concept of the humbucking pickups. And again, if you want to do some research on that, check that out on Google, and you'll learn what the concept of the humbucking pickup is. But this Stratocaster, this Bill Lawrence Stratocaster, has active pickups in it, requires a 9-volt battery. One of the problems is if you leave your lead plugged into the cord, plugged into the input jack on the guitar, you know, you go away for a week, you'll come back and the guitar won't make a noise, because once you plug the cable into the input jack of the guitar, it activates the electronic circuit. The guitar thinks you are playing live through an amplifier, and therefore you are draining the battery. So one of the tips is on any active electronics guitar is don't leave the cord plugged into the guitar when you're not playing it. Otherwise you're just draining the battery for no good reason. This guitar has one further important modification made to it, and that is the installation of this long, narrow pickup here that I'm pointing to right near the bridge. That's actually a MIDI pickup. MIDI. MIDI stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface, and that pickup links up with this controller system down here that my thumb's pointing to, and that lets me use this guitar as the driver for the Roland GR-55 Guitar Synthesiser. I'll be doing some separate video tutorials on guitar synthesizers for anyone who's interested in exploring that very exciting aspect of the electric guitar. So in summary, the Stratocaster, the Fender Stratocaster design of solid body electric guitars, is probably the most famous shape and design concept of any solid body guitar ever made. It's a fantastic shape, it feels beautiful to hold, and it's one of the most famous sounds in music as far as the electric guitar goes. Things to look for when you're looking to buy a solid body guitar is how heavy or light the guitar feels. Unfortunately, there's a trade-off. A very light guitar generally isn't a good sounding solid body guitar, but there has to be a reasonable limit to the weight of a guitar versus the gain from the density of the timbre as far as sustain goes. The heavier the guitar, generally, the more sustain, but it has to be a compromise that you feel comfortable playing. I've already talked about the frets. Just make sure that the frets on the guitar suit what you're looking for as far as, the feel as your fingers go over those frets. To me, the smoother that transition is across the frets, the more you feel like playing the guitar, and also the faster you can potentially play the guitar, and you're not mashing your fingers away, running into a stiff rectangular bump across every fret. This is a maple neck, one-piece neck. I think on a solid body guitar that can be an advantage. Again, up to you. Active pickups versus passive pickups, really hard to tell the difference as a player, but there are differences, and I recommend you do some further research on the internet on the pros and cons of active electronics versus passive. Okay, enough talking. Let's have a listen to the Bill Lawrence solid body Stratocaster in action. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and learnt just a little bit more about the electric guitar. That tune was called Stevie's Blues, and it was written by the great Australian guitarist Tommy Emmanuel as a tribute to Stevie Ray Vaughan, one of the all-time classic players of the Fender Stratocaster. As always, keep in touch via my website www.brianhayes.biz, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and drop me an email if you have any basic questions about the electric guitar. Bye for now.